TruthSeekah and all its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and/or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah podcast.
Gargoyles, psychics, everything's ungodly. Dark's at it.
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian.
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark's at it stuff.
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Hello, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm your host, TruthSeekah. This is the TruthSeekah podcast. Excited and delighted to be with you guys today to share this sacred space with you all. Everyone, go ahead and pull out your handy-dandy truth-seeking caps and put those on, truth-seeking hats or whatever. Some of you, that may be a tinfoil hat or whatever the case is, but we're going to go and discuss all things spiritual today. We're going to get into some really good stuff. My guest today, psychic medium, Britney Buckwalter. We're going to get into this here in just a second, so it's going to be really good. Today is my birthday, and I am turning 21 today. So, yeah, 21 years on this planet. It's been beautiful. I want to say a huge thank you to everybody who has been supporting via Patreon at any level of giving. Anybody who's come on and you believe in my work and the music, and it's touched you, and you know what I'm saying, this podcast has benefited you in any type of way, and so your support is appreciated. So patreon.com/TruthSeekah, there you can get access to my entire discography, 200 plus songs, 10 albums, my Thursday night School of the Mystic sessions, all that kind of stuff that I'm bringing to the table. You get access to that, and you're actually helping me create it, so you're co-creating with me. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Two of the latest patrons who, within the last 2 weeks or so, give a shout out to Robbie Bowen and Jeremy Smith. Thank you guys for coming on board, believing in the work, and joining the fold. It means the world. We're not going to do a School of the Mystics tonight. We're going to do a birthday live stream. So tonight will be us hanging out and maybe having a couple drinks, taking donations to do that. And so if you'd like to buy me a drink, that will be available tonight. So we're just gonna let our hair down. You know, it's nothing wrong with girls being girls, and just, you know, we don't have to always be so spiritual and talk about aliens and Illuminati and UFOs and abductions and spirituality. Sometimes we can just, you know, just hang out and be ourselves. But we can talk about that if you want. So I'm looking forward to spending my birthday with you guys tonight in the live stream. So 7 p.m. Central tonight, we'll be going live doing that. Just had Jordan Maxwell on the other day, and that was an impromptu interview, which went pretty good, I guess, for the most part, till the internet started bugging out on us at the end. And but I got a good chance to ruffle some of your feathers, as always. I'm used to it now, you know, so it happens. But pretty good stuff. There's some truth in there. You just got to decipher. I always have to give the Jordan Maxwell disclaimer, but it was good stuff. So shout out to everybody hanging out in the chat right now. Chris Garner, Caitlin, Fred Lynch, Andrew, Chantel Renee is here. All of you guys hanging out live with us in the chat. Shout out to everybody listening on your podcasting apps wherever you are. shout out to you. I love each and every one of you guys. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring on my guest today. This is psychic medium Britney Buckwalter. Did I say the last name right? Buckwalter.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, Britney. How are you?
Hi, I'm wonderful. How are you?
Doing good. It's my birthday.
I know. If you couldn't tell from the beginning, I'm learning all this new podcast lingo and how to do it. And being quiet isn't always my strong suit. So I asked you if you had plans in the beginning.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yep. You were talking over the intro, but the thing about it, it's kind of cool though. There's some people, they'll like whisper to one another, or I had one guy, he's like, we went live and he's like naming off everything he sees him in the background, like over the intro. He's like, there's a Pokemon, there's Star Wars. And it's like, it just kind of adds to the show because they can't hear the intro, and I guess they think I mute them or whatever, but no, they can hear you. There's people burping and yawning and all kind of stuff. So
that's great. Well, now I know.
Yeah, everybody does it differently, but it's no big deal. It just adds character to each episode. So, yeah, my plans for my birthday, like I said, I just went over them a while ago, what we're doing tonight. Got some birthday gifts from my my family. And I just got this. I'll show this off for everybody watching on the stream and listening. This is the Tales from the Dark Side complete series
Nice.
TV show. And so this is a TV show from the 80s, I believe it was, and they made a movie called Tales from the Dark Side movie, and I was a big fan of the horror genre when I was a child, so they got me that, and they got me this ukulele.
Yeah. I watched you play the first time you got it.
Yeah, so they got me that.
That's awesome.
So, yep. So I'm that's what they got me for gifts. Also, so tonight we're going to be doing the live stream, hanging out with my friends who join us here on the podcast, and we'll be doing that tonight, having a couple drinks, letting our hair down, and then we're going to do Mexican margaritas and karaoke Saturday night.
Cool.
So if anybody wants to come, want to drive to Mobile, Alabama, and celebrate my birthday doing karaoke, I'm probably going to do all the old 90s rap hits. So I get them in, and I put on a show and blow everybody away. It's fun. So it's the place where rappers go to die, is the karaoke bar. So
there you go.
I like to put on a show. So yeah, that's what I have planned. So yeah, but this isn't as much about me. This is a podcast about you. Chantel Renee referred you. Me and her did a really good show together. She's a beautiful soul, and told me,
amazing.
hey, if you liked our conversation, you'll love my friend. So she sent me your info, and now here we are. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you bring to the table, Britney.
So I am an evidential medium, and I am an intuitive psychic. Evidential medium means I prefer to give evidence that I have your loved one on the line with me, as opposed to just messages. And being an intuitive psychic, I prefer to just actually use the word intuitive. I feel like Hollywood has totally shamed the name psychic. And I feel like when people hear that, they're like, oh, okay. They picture somebody wearing a turban or like just this crazy person. So I usually prefer to use the term intuitive because that's all you're doing is using your intuition as a psychic. So that's what I am. That's what I do. I'm also a certified life coach. I decided to get certified in life coaching because, I noticed throughout all of my readings that I was giving so much advice. I felt like I think I need to be certified to do this. So I'm that. I'm also an advanced tarot card reader. So I took an angel card class. It was rather in depth, but it's allowed me to be able to teach, to read tarot. And so I do a lot of different things.
Bringing it, yeah, I know. Like you have all of these different tools in your arsenal. And that's the thing. Like, people ask you what you do and what it entails. It's like, well, People ask me what I do for a living. It's like, I'm a podcaster. I'm a rapper.
Yeah.
I'm an energy healer. Affiliate marketing. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of these different things that you do bring to the table. But, the beautiful thing is that those giftings and talents that are within people and the drive and the hunger, it's a lot easier to manifest that stuff now and actually do it for a living. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like it's a thing, and we're still having to deal with family members and stuff because it's kind of weird. I'm just over a year doing this full time, from being a full time trucker for 10 plus years, and doing this full time, and just the way the internet's set up, that you can actually manifest that stuff and do what you want.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to the coal mine. You don't have to go work at the plant or bag groceries. Like, you have giftings and abilities that you can, if you own it, you can put it out there to the world and say, hey, this is what I do. And you'll find those people who resonate with you. So it's really beautiful that we're able to kind of step out into that territory now.
You're preaching to the choir. That's one of the things that I I'm such an ambassador for is teaching people about using their gifts and their abilities and taking it to the next level. But that's not even something that you have to do if you're not wanting to maybe leave your job. Just being able to step away from this cookie cutter lifestyle where, oh gosh, if you embrace spirituality in any way, shape, or form, you're going to hell. That type of thing has been huge over the last few years that I've found. And so being able to enlighten people, that has been like my major platform since I've gotten this. We are actually getting ready to do a something called the Energy Enlightenment Tour, where we will be going to 2 cities, Columbia, Missouri, and Quincy, Illinois. And it's 4 of us women total that will be basically just, teaching people about using their abilities or maybe finding their abilities, finding their tribe, becoming comfortable with spirituality. That's what this tour is all about. But yeah, you are totally right. This day and age with podcasts and Facebook and YouTube, and we can be and do so much more, and I'm all about embracing it.
Yeah. Now, the road to get there can be a journey. It's part of your journey. You have to kind of prove that you want it, and not that, hey, this is a whim, this is an idea, let me try it. You got to actually believe in it and want it. You know what I'm saying? So there could be obstacles. So right. There's things that you have to kind of work through, your own belief systems, or a big one is, should I be able to get paid to do what I love? Like, that's a weird thing too. Whether there's guilt there, as far as that, like, because you feel guilty, like, wow, I would do this for free, and I do this for free, but now people are like, wanting to pay me or give that exchange of energy. That's a weird one to get over, and it's taken me a while to kind of get there. But I was always like that, with my music, because I'm going to do my music regardless if you buy it or not, you know what I'm saying? And so to be in a place where, like, I'm doing it for a living because people love it so much that they want to pay for it, or an energy healing session or counseling session, like, I'm going to give you advice. Like, when we hang out, I'm going to give you advice. This is stuff that we do, but to be able to make a living off of it is just crazy, right?
Yeah, I have an interesting story about that. So I was reading tarot starting at age 8 or at age 20. So for 8 years, and never charged a dime, nothing, there was no exchange of money. It was just, I was just doing this, because I loved it. And one day I was in Kansas City and I was coming home, and, I had done a mediumship demonstration there. And, I looked back on the amount of money that I made for going to Kansas City and doing this. And there was something within me that was like, God, is it okay to be making money doing this? I've done it for free for so long, and there was something within me that felt a little uneasy. And while I was at that event, I had bought a numerology book. It was 0 to 999, what each and every number meant. And so I'm in the drive-thru at McDonald's, and I'm getting a water and a large fry. And I look over and I see that book in my car seat, and I think to myself, I'm gonna, whatever the cost of this is, I'm gonna look up that number because I see what it means. And it was 284. So I looked up the number 284 in that book, and it said something to the effect of, your angels understand that you are human and that you have materialistic needs. We are here to support you. It's okay. And just, it was like, boom.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I love those moments.
So many things came together. And from that point on, I realized, this isn't just for fun anymore. I'm really trying to make my way in this industry. And it's okay. It's okay to be supported.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, if we're going to compare things, if you think about the church and how they constantly get, they get money and offerings to keep those things going. So that makes me feel a little bit better when I think about it like that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be a big thing. And you were referring to backlash and demonization. Where are you from? Where are you actually at? Are you in the Bible Belt at all?
I'm in Hannibal, Missouri.
Missouri. So is it really old fashioned there? Is it a small town? How is it?
Well, I'm actually from Palmyra, which is about 12 miles north of here. And so it's even more old fashioned. But, I kept coming out of the clairvoyant closet to myself for years and years, mainly because of backlash. I was so scared. I was raised a Lutheran, and I was really, really nervous about how my parents, how my in-laws, the community at large in general would view me. And there just came this point where it was like, I cannot deny this anymore. And this is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of like this whole Phoenix moment where I just, rose up from what I was taught to believe in and decided one day, you know what? I'm still going to believe in that. But then there's this whole other thing that's happening, and it's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
And I have not looked back since. And I am so thankful that I went full-headed. Now, I will tell you, in the beginning, when I was starting my career, I went to bigger cities and would do readings for people at metaphysical shops. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I built up my confidence. And I had a page called Blessings Beyond Belief. So I didn't go under my actual name. That's how scared I was to come out in the beginning. Yeah. So people would go to this Blessings Beyond Belief page that I had read in Kansas City and St. Louis and Columbia, and they would leave, oh my gosh, our reading was so great, or this or that. And so it slowly built up my confidence. And that was when I was able to, to make the leap to, okay, my name's Britney Buckwalter. That's who I am.
There's a lot of people there, and I'm reading in the chat right now. There's a lot of people hanging out with us right now, and a lot of people in my circle. They, you kind of attracts like, and so there's people who are on a similar journey, who are like, they're healers at heart. They have a family, they have wife and kids, or husband and kids, or whatever, and it doesn't look like it's possible. Even though it's a dream in there, it's still in there somewhere. But like, how do I manifest it? How do I bring it into fruition? Because even if it looks so far away, I mean, even doing what I'm doing, it's every day is a blessing, and it still feels like a dream. And I'm like, man, I'm a year and a half into this, and I'm supported, even though it is scary. You have to trust and rely on God or the source or whatever that's going to meet your needs. And especially like, if God led you here, if this is your path, didn't leave you here to abandon you, actually led you here to keep moving, and I have plans to bless you and prosper you, and a future and a hope, and God has given us these desires and these abilities to tap into, and you know what I'm saying, be able to do it full time. And so there's a lot of people who actually want to do it, and they're scared. They don't know how to juggle bills, and stuff like that. So there's a process. You have to fight for it. I mean, sometimes you maybe have to even start out just like, downsizing on bills, or some things you're splurging on, or whatever the case is. And we haven't had to make too many changes, but we've had to make changes, and we were ready to make those changes, right? So it's a process, and I know there's a lot of people out there who are ready to do it. And the season is right. The water is moving. The water's right to step in,
I implore you, if you are listening and you're interested in taking your spirituality or your intuitive gifts or whatever you may have to the next level, and the whole don't feel bad for charging thing, that's the only way you're going to get out. That's the only way you're going to make break out of the 9 to 5 that you have right now that you're tired of. So and start small. I went from charging, I think, $25 for a reading to 50 to 75. And then, I took thousands of dollars worth of classes to make me even better. And then began to charge even more. But now I do less, I do less reading. So I'm more focused on the person that I'm reading.
Yep.
And I have tons of energy to give to them. So there's a lot of facets that go into, this type of career. But
and it's like, you know what I'm saying, whatever you're interested in too. Like, so you're talking about how you come from the church. So I come from the religious background as well. And we did a lot of energy healing or prayer, laying on of hands, prophetic words, being able to get quiet and listen to the Holy Spirit, a message he had to say for that person. So the channeling stuff and the energy work and moving energy and feeling stuff and getting rid of negative energies or demons off of people, like that was just what I was doing. So it was an easy transition to say, look, it's the same thing that we're doing in the spiritual realm. We just have different names and terms and things like that. Every religion practices, every faith practices something similar to that, of ridding someone of the negativity in their life and overcoming traumas and hurts and kind of cutting those cords and attachments and stuff like that. So it's really something that's universal, but in you can tailor it however you want. You can, if you want to use this, if you want to use a little bit of that. So even to say like, okay, I do this and this is what I do, but man, it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, Reiki, energy healing, faith healing, like it's all like the same thing, prayer, all kinds of stuff, and so it all just kinds of tends to run together. And you don't have to abandon your beliefs or whatever. You can keep them. And it's not like, and that's what I've done. I've used this platform of my music to show people in the church that, hey, like those experiences you're having with angels or demons or the spirit realm or leaving your body, like they're in the Bible and in their good experiences. Like those are good. So the Bible doesn't speak against that stuff. So breaking the Bible down and showing them, hey, these experiences are in there. Your pastor hasn't told you. There's cognitive dissonance that comes in when you read it. You automatically have a preconceived notion about what it means. That's probably not right. And then on the other hand, I've kind of showed people who may be into spirituality or the new age, who may feel a certain type of way towards the old church that they came out of or towards Jesus or whatever, to show them, look, God is, in love with you and passionately pursuing you as a son or a daughter, and kind of merging the two together, man. And it's been an awesome journey.
It has, it's been, I would say, one of my biggest battles, aside from worrying about what other people thought about me in the beginning, which now is kind of out of the way, has been my battle with Christianity and spirituality, being one and the same. And something that, and if this isn't for everybody, please don't hold it against me, but it's just an idea. Something that I had to do in order to move forward was drop the Bible and just keep my faith in God and Jesus Christ. Because you and I could sit down here and break down the Bible and talk about Joan of Arc and how she heard voices. And, I hear the same voices. I even hear them from my right side, just like she did. And, we could break down the Bible to where it would work for us. But if that's the case, and we're able to manipulate the Bible into any situation that works for anybody, which is kind of what I'm seeing now, what's the point? What's the point in having the Bible? But that's what I had to do to be able to keep my faith in Jesus Christ and keep my faith in God himself and you continue to use him as my source. I had to walk away from that.
Yep. Some people do, you know what I'm saying? But that's what I was saying. Like you can tailor it how you want. If you want to do that, you can, and but if you want to embrace it, it's for you, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever it is, everybody's different, and there's an innocence there too, like to actually know, like the the prophets and the apostles and disciples were very spiritual dudes, like leaving their body, healing people, hearing the voices of angels, like that's still happening. Like you can tap into that. So if you wanted to even embrace your faith, you can, or if you wanted to abandon it, it represents different things to different people. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think I could ever abandon my faith. And I think my Christian faith. And I think it's because it's so deep rooted in me. I don't know if it's necessarily, I don't know. I just know that I couldn't ever abandon it. when I pray, I still pray to God and Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And, every now and then, I'll call in an archangel unless I'm praying, getting ready to pray right to my, right before I do a reading. I almost always call in the archangels, but, I could never abandon it. And, I once had a really wise woman tell me, she said, Brittany, I like to think of spirituality as a buffet where you can just kind of go and pick and choose what things you want to believe in. And I don't think that's too far-fetched. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's beautiful. If you want to believe in archangels, great. If you prefer the saints, okay. If
Yep.
It just, whatever you're feeling.
Yeah, the more studying I've done, it's just like they're all personifications of the one. Like all of it, every single bit of it, no matter. And there's something about that story, the hero's journey, the story of Jesus, the story of of Anakin Skywalker. You know what I'm saying? It's the hero's journey. That's our journey, and we're going through that process as well. And it plays out much like Jesus, and that's where the whole thing with the zeitgeist and the plagiarism and the story, something about that story that resonates with the hearts of men and women. And I've said it many times. I believe if we had to push a reset button and something happened on the earth, I think that story would still come out with different characters and different archetypes or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, in some way, shape, or form. I agree.
So, I wanted to ask you too. So, getting back to your story, I always like to ask people, especially psychics and mediums and people into the paranormal and stuff. I like to start here. Did you ever have any encounters or weird things happen to you as a child that got you into mediumship or the psychic abilities or anything like that? Did you see ghosts or angels or UFOs or anything?
Yeah, no UFOs that I can remember, but
that's my thing.
Not that I'm ready for somebody to teach me about UFOs because
you come to the right place.
Yeah, I know. So absolutely, as a child, and I feel like most children in general experience this to some points, to some degree. But yeah, as a child, I had several experiences with spirit. To this day, my mother and I and my brother still talk about a time when we were laying together on a couch, and a man appeared in front of. It was Christmas Eve, and or New Year's Eve. A man appeared in front of us, and I tapped my mom's leg. We were all three cuddled up on this tiny couch, and I tapped my mom's leg. It was like probably 3 or 4 in the morning, and I said, "Mom, who's that man?" And I was probably 5 or 6, and she said, "What man?" And I said, "That man, don't you see him?" And she said, "Just lay still." And to this day, that's one of the ones that always sticks in my mind. But there's so many run-ins that I had with spirit as a young child. I couldn't even begin to count. But I don't feel like to be able to do what I do, you have to have had those experiences. I don't feel, I feel like at any age and at any time you can begin to kind of have a spiritual awakening.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I had many.
Yeah, I don't think that you have to either. It helps.
Yeah.
It helps for your belief in. It helps with your belief, and then it helps with it kind of shapes the course of your life to just believe, to ask those bigger questions. Who the hell was that man? What was that outside looking through my window? What is it? And so it kind of gets you into, for me, paranormal and horror movies and things like that. You know what I'm saying? Having those encounters when I was a kid, asking bigger questions, and still kind of scared though, because this is weird and. You can't talk to everybody about it. And so when you can talk to somebody, you're like, wow, you had this encounter too? What is it?
Yes.
And I said, well, I don't know, but I heard it's this. And I listened to a program that said it was this. As a kid, asking those questions and stuff with family members and friends, it was wild. And I remember talking about sleep paralysis and stuff. I had that happen to me when I was 4 years old. And that changed my life, right? Waking up, being pinned to my bed by these... felt like 2 entities, one on each side, and I was I could see them, and there were black shadow, dark figures, and I was scared to death. I don't know if I couldn't speak. I know I was too scared to even cough. I had a scratchy throat. I didn't even want to cough. I didn't want them to act like I was still sleeping, right? That's crazy. But I remember my sister.
I never had this sleep paralysis, but I did have several times where I saw shadow figures as a kid, and I was too scared to move.
Yeah.
And the more that I do this work, the more that I hear from the shadow. I saw the shadows. And it's like a thing. It's like other people, whatever form that they took, people see it. And so at this point, it's like nothing surprises me anymore.
Yeah.
Hearing all these stories from people, nothing surprises me anymore. I'm always like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that's crazy. But yeah.
It's just scratching the surface, but it's just kind of intriguing to find out what it really is too, and why.
Right.
A lot of people have had those encounters go on to be people who get into spirituality, who get into the healing arts, and I feel part of me feels like it's a fear mechanism that tries to keep you away from it, but in the end it works to like make you ask bigger questions. I almost feel like these people are marked, or star seeds, or whatever you want to call it. It's like, okay, you come here with a message, and you're gonna change humanity and help people. So it's like something that tries to scare you and keep you away from it. Hey, I'm not doing it. So my sister was dating this guy, and they were just having those weird God moments and talking about ghosts and stuff. And she told him about, when my brother was little, there was a beings that was in his room, and she told him that. He started crying, and this is like a 30-year-old dude. He started crying, and she's like, "Why are you crying?" He said, "Well, I had the same thing happen to me, but I've never told anybody about it because I didn't want nobody to think that I was crazy, losing my mind,
Right.
making this stuff up." And so a lot of people have had those encounters or something similar, It's really weird.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And I feel like that's kind of how we end up developing our tribe, or our pack of people, is these common interests that we've all experienced, and feel like there's not a safe place for us to talk about them, and then you end up getting really close with the people that you are safe to talk to about them. So yeah, that's a really interesting concept, the idea that these dark shadows are kind of sent here to scare us, but instead they intrigue us. That's really cool. I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah, just trying to figure it out. Like I said, most of the people who I know, they've gone on to do great things, or are supposed to do great things. They have an affinity for the healing arts, even if they're not pursuing it. They have what you would say, a call upon their life to do that. It's really
Right.
really cool. So, what's the difference? There was somebody who was talking about this day before yesterday on the podcast. They said there was a difference between being a psychic and a medium. Is there a difference there for you? Do you have a difference?
Oh, there's a huge difference. So here it is. As a psychic, you are an intuitive person who can, come up with what may happen in the future, maybe read what had happened in the past, just, using your intuition in general. Think about it, sometime you got a phone call, you heard the phone ring, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's my mom. You go and look at it, it's your mom. Telepathy, that's kind of the start of finding out that you're a psychic. You may say, so-and-so's pregnant, I just know they are. And then 2 weeks later, they post that they're pregnant. That's being psychic. That's intuition. Of course, the level that I use my intuition on, it's like a muscle, so it grows. It's much, much heavier, much bigger. But that's the start of it. Now, mediumship is a completely different concept. That is being able to speak or hear from spirit, from energy. When you walk into a room and you see two individuals in that room, and one of them seems just so mad and angry, you can feel that. You can feel their energy. You can tell that they are upset or they're angry. That's all I'm doing, only instead of the physical body not being there, I'm reading the energy that's left after the physical body is gone. And so, it takes time and it takes practice to be able to do it. And I feel like I'm getting better and better every day. I don't feel like there's a day that I'm not learning something new, but essentially what the difference is mediumship is speaking and connecting with the dead. Psychic science is using your intuition and being able to come up with things that may happen. Now, it's important to note that you cannot be a medium without first being psychic. Okay, you have to have the ability to look into the future. You have to have the ability, that strong intuition. You have to have that to be able to communicate with the other side. But you do not have to be a medium to be a psychic. In fact, there are some brilliant psychics out there that do not have the ability to communicate with energy.
Yeah, there's a lot of people tapping in and waking up to it now. It's not as taboo anymore.
No, 10 years ago,
Yeah.
we couldn't have done what we're doing now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's so funny. I've always talked about, like, I've always been into fringe, right? Even when I was a Christian evangelist in the church and stuff, I got into the Illuminati, looking up the New World Order, and 9/11 was an inside job, and finding all of this stuff or whatever, and studying it and freaking out over it. And I began to put it in my music. I began to even sprinkle it in my messages at church when I'm speaking. And I became known for this guy talking about the Illuminati. And it was so taboo. It was, I was, what I'm saying, laughed at and ridiculed about it. And this was over 10 years ago, though. This was probably like in 2008, starting 2008. Now it's a common thing. There's, the Illuminati is a joke. Like, there'll be like, kids in school and their pencil will roll and fall off the desk. And that's, what happened? Illuminati did it. The Illuminati did it. So it's like a joke. It's like it has infiltrated pop culture even. Even back then, there was only a couple channels that had Illuminati exposed and was breaking down the science and symbolism. But now there's like millions of channels almost. Everybody's an expert, and depending on how good you are with Photoshop or video editing, you can, if you present it just right with the right music and the right imagery, you can create a belief system in someone if you do it just right. And so it's really weird how it's infiltrated pop culture. But I remember we would catch flack in church and stuff for talking about it. Now the pastors have sermons about the Illuminati. The pastors have sermons about the NWO. And I remember we even talked about the Kundalini years ago and bringing that, how that was likened to the Holy Spirit, or whether, whatever you believe about the Kundalini. Now there's pastors doing sermons on watch out for the Kundalini that's invading the churches. And it's always been like a forerunner to this stuff. And the forerunners never get props. You never... people will say, hey, what are you talking about that? No, but it might be 10 years later, 5 years later, and now you're on to something else. But it kind of comes with the territory, though, to just being that, forerunner to what you
are so right. I always say the bigger the target, the more flack you're going to catch. But, it's not our responsibility. It's not our job to change the mind of heavy skeptics. I'm okay with skepticism. In fact, I welcome it. It's when someone becomes cynical, when I cannot break through. I have no desire. I lose all interest, and frankly, it's not my job. It's your job, and nothing that I say is going to change your mind. So I'm not going to waste my time doing it. There are just some people out there that you could hold up a blue piece of paper and tell them it's blue, and they'll say no, it's yellow.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I seen a meme the other day, and it was so good. It was like it said something like it was a person. It was like a guru guy or somebody talking to a random dude, and he said, "I found the true meaning of spirituality," or something like, or meaning of bliss, and it's not to argue with fools, and there you'll find peace. It, basically what the meme said. And the guy said, "No," the other guy said, "I completely disagree." And it's like, you're right. I'm not going to argue.
There you go. Yes, you do. My favorite meme that you shared not long ago was the guy that was like dressed in the front and then had nothing on hardly in the back. It was like spirituality that I talk with my family, spirituality that I talk with.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, it was funny
because that's so true though. Like my dad, he has the hardest time with what I do. I wouldn't say he necessarily has a hard time. I don't really think he gives it a whole lot of thought, but we don't discuss it. We don't really talk about what I do. He said that it kind of freaks him out, and so we just don't discuss it. And that's a little hard for me because I'm very proud of my career. If we're discussing birth order, I'm the oldest child. And so I want to make my parents proud. But I accept it. I accept his feelings on it. I know that he loves and he supports me, and I move on. And really, I think that's what spirituality and being spiritual is all about.
It is for me, definitely, especially from where I come from with the religious background or whatever. But I had to go to the police station a couple weeks ago. I had to report a stalker. You know what I'm saying? There's some weird people out there. Just, people, when you start making a name for yourself and getting out there, you attract a lot of
I have
crazies.
some stories.
Yeah, so I didn't, like, my wife wanted to go to the police, you know what I'm saying, just because she was like threatening her and just a lot of weird stuff, and then contacting every one of my friends and saying she's my real wife and weird stuff, and talking about she's gonna kill my wife and just crazy stuff. And she's tried to come on the live stream. I had to block her and all that kind of stuff, but my wife wanted to report it, so we went to the. I didn't want to go. I don't like dealing with the law enforcement, or I don't want to be in that type of system at all. But just in case anything happened, you know, we do live appearances and stuff like that, and put out addresses where we're going to be. In case anything happens, it's on record that we reported it, you know.
Yeah.
My wife was strapped to say that. So we went to the police or whatever, and he was like, okay, I never met you, and you know what I'm saying? What do you do for a living? Who are you? I was like, and this is a small country town that I live in. I'm like, well, I'm a gospel rapper. I share the gospel. Oh, okay, I'm a pastor at a local church. And blah 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 blah. I said, okay. I didn't want to say, yeah, I'm a psychic medium, and I do this podcast where I talk about aliens, and you know, I was like, you know what? I just do gospel music. God, just leave it at that, sir.
Sometimes it's just easier to say, you know, there are times that I'll just say I'm a life coach, but it's not because I'm not proud of what I do, or because, you know, I am scared or embarrassed anymore. It's because I don't want to sit here and talk for 3 hours about mediumship and
or
psychic science.
Them, or them
it's
say
not
something
very
out
well
their
known.
Mouth, yeah. Say something sideways about it, you know.
Yeah.
Well, there's a scripture in the Bible that even tells you not to cast your pearls before swine, something that's so beautiful and delicate to you that you believe in, and you're just going to just like share it with people who don't give a damn, and they're going to like laugh about it, talk about it, send negativity, you know what I'm saying, negative thoughts towards it, and gossip. Yeah, there's no no talk for you, sir. Yeah, I'm a gospel rapper, which I was at one point, and a lot of people, you know.
Do you listen to, I saw that you listen to a little bit of rock though too, right?
Because when you said love rock, yeah.
Pearls Before Swine, it made me think of, it's one of my favorite songs right now. I can't think of who it's by. Anyways, we could get off topic talking about rock and roll.
We were talking about rock when we first started messaging on Facebook, and I think I sent you, what I tell you, that I interviewed Jay Gordon from Orgy or something like that.
Yeah, lost the interview.
Big, yeah. Oh my God, I was still like, I'll pay somebody if they can find out a way to find that interview, man. That's one of my freaking all-time favorite bands as a kid, and I got the chance to interview them, and I lost it. Putting that out there into the universe. If you can find the TruthSeekah Jay Gordon interview, it would be under the Mythicist podcast. Find it. I will pay you $100 if you can find that interview and give me the video or the audio. $100 right now. So that's how bad I want it. I'll probably pay more than that, but $100. The gym, man. You get to talk to your like childhood idols and stuff. Like this is where we're at now. Like when you're a kid, there was no internet like that, and there's just people on an album cover or on MTV. And now we're hanging out on the podcast. So, yeah, I need to find that.
That's amazing. It is.
Got to talk to a bunch of them, man. It's awesome. But let me ask you about this, too, because you said the type of mediumship that you do is you like to get proof that this is who it is. It's not just I'm really good at, like, not to name drop, but the John Edwards. I'm a good fisherman. Does the person have a J? No. Is there a K in their name? Well, last name was Karen. Last name Karen. Okay. First name, you know, and people are good at fishing, right?
So I think that how we receive, because I'm huge into saying that, and I know that people think, you know, oh, that's fishing, but if you can follow it up with the evidence, and I'm gonna stick up for John Edward here because he's one of my favorites, but I think he's pretty good at evidence. I've seen him live several times. That's how it starts, though. So you're like, okay, who's the K that this person wants to talk about? So they say, okay, it's Karen or so-and-so. Then you better follow it up with something good, like, did she collect frogs and did she die of COPD because I can't breathe? So then you've got to have that evidence, in my opinion. And being an evidential medium is probably the most common medium that there is out there. But there are people who will just give you messages like, did you lose a brother? Yes. He says he loves you and he's proud. And then that's it. No, I need more than that. I want to know, you know, what was their death date? What was their birth date? You know, so I'll give those. And it would be a lot like going to the doctor and sitting down in front of him with an illness and not saying a single word and expecting him to diagnose you properly. It's impossible. There needs to be some dialogue between the person that you're reading and yourself and spirit. And it's going to sound like we're fishing. We're asking questions. That's how we do it. It doesn't, when you hear what you hear, it doesn't just come, like full-fledged sentence, paragraph, da-da-da-da. And if that was the case, death probably wouldn't be such a big deal, if it was so easy to read other people.
Well, there's a lot of people who kind of act like it does, though, whether it's the Sylvia Browns or whatever the case is, and they have all of this info, and they drop it, and they say, no, you're not right. That's not how they died. And say, yes, they did. And they'll argue with you. Yes, they did. That's how they died.
So comes from, and a lot of British mediums are that way.
Yeah.
That comes from a couple of things. Being overly confident, which you gain the longer that you do this. But then also, and I can tell you from experience, I will come up with things and I will say things to somebody and they will tell me no. And almost every single time after an event, I will get an email this long explaining to me how I was right. And at that point in time, they just weren't thinking that. And so, you kind of got to protect and stand in your ground. So if it makes you look like an idiot on stage to these other people, that's something that you're willing to sacrifice and do. Because you got to think, if she walks out and looks like an idiot because they sat there and said, no, she just put her pride on the line.
Or something and that they're embarrassed of, they're not going to say, yes,
that person's still saying no, none of that happened or that's not real. You just sit back and you quietly wait for that email that says, you know what, I wasn't thinking at the time, or I was kind of shell-shocked.
The funny thing, you're talking about that, getting that email and somebody denying at the time, that actually happened to me a bunch when I was kind of transitioning. I was still in the church, but I would talk about other things or do this kind of music that I'm doing or talk about UFOs or aliens openly or whatever. I got a lot of backlash early on, and people would be like, oh, you're going to hell and blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. And then almost every time, whether it was a week, a month, a year, they would come and apologize. Like, look, man, I'm sorry that I judged you. I don't believe in everything you believe in, but I see the work that you're doing or whatever, or I was here. Because you're a threat to a lot of people, right? If you're saying that, especially with religion, because this is super cognitive dissonance. This is something that they've based not only their life on, they've not given their life to it, they've given their eternity, that this pastor or this doctrine is right. And if you challenge it, now hold on, I'm hanging on like a bulldog or a pit bull, just hanging on. This is what I believe and it's right with no evidence or no proof. It's right. And if you challenge that, like I said, you're not challenging their life's goals and dreams. That's one thing, but their everlasting soul, their eternity that they've given it over to this belief system. So I it's fight or flight. People, man, it's scary. You can't breathe. It's shallow breathing. It's like people making fun of you or whatever the case is, or they're confrontational with you over that stuff. But like I said, I've gotten a lot of those emails and a lot of those messages or phone calls just saying, look, man, I'm sorry I did that or said that to you. Blah, 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 blah. Have you gotten any of that?
I get it all the time.
Yeah.
It's mainly just, here's your validation for what you said at the event. And it's so hard, to set your pride aside. But that's the first thing that I think that you have to learn to do when you begin to do this work as a light worker is put your ego to the back burner. That's like my best piece of advice, because you're gonna start pissing a lot of people off if you just, shine your light and say, no, I know what I'm hearing. I know what I'm seeing. And even if you say no, I still believe it because I've made a career out of this. I know what I'm doing. And you just you take the good with the bad. But yeah, I've dealt with it quite a bit.
Yeah. It's always good though. It's refreshing when it's coming back to you. I actually
went to a little town in Missouri called Kirksville or La Plata, Missouri. And I was going to do a mediumship event there. And I found out that I think it was, or maybe it was Green Top, I can't remember. But at this place, this pastor found out that I was coming there, and he went door to door with flyers telling people this woman is an imposter and she's coming to our town and she's, going to try to get you to stray away and don't go to her event. And I'm like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I had to deal with that too. And that's why, I kind of look at it like God kind of ran me out of the church in a good way. Like, it's fun to preach to the choir. Like we can show up for events, and I've got 300 kids there showing up, and I'm gonna rap for them and share my story. And it was a safe place that I was in, right, in the church or whatever. Didn't have to promote for concerts. I just show up or whatever. And so eventually, when I started talking about this stuff, people would still like beg me to come do shows. Close friends, and I'm like, nah, man, I can't, bro. They're like, yeah, you can. And they think I had something personal. I said, it's not personal. I would love to come. But it got to the point where eventually I can't come. Like they're gonna call whoever's over the event. They're gonna do this. When they see my name on it, bro, like I do live podcasts where I talk about hanging out with Jesus on magic mushrooms and stuff. And they don't like that, and it really happened. So for me, just looking at the bigger picture, like it was a way of God like sending me to the nations versus being comfortable in my little church concerts or whatever the case is, and so, but everything ends up working out. But like there was those phone calls, and Allie Graham is in the chat and she knows about this. They come back and told me at the end, but they wanted me to do a concert of this outreach. And I didn't want to do it because I'm like, you know what? I don't do church gigs anymore. Let's book a show at the club. Let's rent a venue, whatever it is. I said, I don't do church shows anymore. But they were like, come on, man, do this outreach. And finally I said, okay, I'll do it. They put my name on the flyer and they started promoting it. And I made sure I didn't put my image on there real big. Like, let's take another person and put there, because I made the flyer too. And I did that for him. And then last minute, I got cold feet. I said, I can't go to this, man. I don't. I called him and I was like, or messaged him and said, look, I'm sick. I can't make it, y'all. Even though I wasn't sick, but I told them that. They know what's up. And then come to find out, the lady who they booked it at a park. And the lady who's over the parks and park and recreation knew me from the internet or knew me from whoever. And was telling everybody, if TruthSeekah shows up, we're shutting the event down. We're pulling the plug.
If the TruthSeekah shows up.
Yeah, it was shutting it down. He goes around giving people mushrooms and telling them about Jesus. We're not having it. We're not having. So I'm like, I told y'all, man, I can't do this no more, And it's not like they don't win. It's a God thing, really. Like there's a bigger, broader audience who need what I have, and they're not in the church. They already got the truth in the church. So it's just how it works out. It kind of hurts a little bit, but it comes with the territory. You got to be ready. You got to be ready. It's going to happen. Your friend, Jesus even said it. Your friends and your family forsaking you, thinking that they're doing good, but they're doing harm, and they don't even know what they're doing. Like it's part of it comes with the territory for sure. The stalker thing. Yep. I had to tell my wife. I said, look, get used to it. I don't want to tell her that, but it's like, we're gonna get bigger. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's going to happen.
Chantel has experienced that on several levels. And not long ago, I'm going through a divorce, and I got a letter, a random letter from some person, and it didn't have any return label. Like it was just totally random. And it came to my office. It was a letter telling me that they knew something about me and about my situation, and they could offer me information, and they hope I find them. And I mean, it's totally had me on edge for quite some time, but because we have no idea who sent it. We don't know where it came from. And that's not my first brush with weirdos. But yeah. And it's going to happen.
It's going to come, and it's something. So, in the psychic realm, the medium realm, the spiritual realm, it has its fair share of weirdos. I get messages, hey, let's astral travel and hang out in the third heaven tonight. I'm going to meet you there. And I'm like, the hell are you even talking about? Or people message me telling me that they're the angel Michael. Do I believe them? Well, if you're the angel Michael, you can show up and give me an apparition, and then I'll believe you. Like, show me. And I get these weird messages, and they're in the spiritual realm, but they're in religion. They're in every religion. It's just people. There's just crazy people, and the bad thing about it is, trust me, there's tons of them in the church. Tons of them. Delusional people who believe crazy stuff and think that God's talking to them, but it's something totally, trust me, it's scary, really. And they're in Islam, They're in Hinduism. It's just people. And the bad thing about it is a lot of times the religious or spiritual communities are like cesspools or like breeding ground where they find a place where they're accepted, and we have like, whether it's they're good at manipulation or weaseling their way into a place of authority. Man, they're out there, man. And it comes with the territory. So
yeah, I understand.
Get used to it. I don't want, even with that, I don't want to like speak it into existence, but let's just be real. Like, it happens.
Yep.
Dealing with those people. This was a question that my friend in the chat asked the guest the other day, who was a medium as well. Dealing with Ouija boards. Do you mess with Ouija boards? Is there a way to do it? The guest the other day was just hands down, no.
Okay.
No, not at all. How do you feel about that?
Well, I actually bought a Ouija board a few years back in Salem, Massachusetts, of all places. And, I'm really strong in my faith and knowing that I'm protected. I'm a big fan of Archangel Michael, and so I pray to him a lot. I said my prayers, and a friend of mine and I decided to try it out. Nothing happened. I have a cat named Salem, who every single time we would get that Ouija board out and try, he would hop on top of the Ouija board, and we couldn't do it. After about the fourth or fifth time, I took that as a sign, I don't think I'm supposed to do this. Mm-hmm. So do I mess with Ouija boards? No. I've heard some really, really frightful stories about them. And I guess, that's always a possibility. I would believe in the stories that I would hear, but I've never experienced anything negative in general. I've experienced negative people. Like I've talked to a serial killer before that's on the other side, but I've never experienced, demons or anything demonic or evil. And I would like to keep it that way. I have that Ouija board, and it's like at Halloween, I'll put it up, but I'm definitely not going to go around telling people to use them by any means. Because I feel like you can, through an altered state, reach spirit and get an effective enough message on your own. You don't need a Ouija board. So, I don't need one. And if you really are that interested in speaking with spirit, come to me. I mean, for free. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to use a board.
Okay, you said spirit. That's different than spirits, right? Because the next question here is from Brenda Bradshaw and says, are you getting messages from the Holy Spirit? When you say spirit, is that kind of like hand in hand? Is that the same thing?
Spirit, there's a difference. The Holy Spirit, I would think the Holy Spirit, would be Jesus Christ, the Trinity, God himself. Spirit to me is almost like the people version of humans. You know what I mean? Like we call people who have passed spirit.
Okay. So you just refer to any I guess disembodied soul or person as spirit that comes through. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I never even heard it like put like that. But I wanted to kind of go back on the whole negative thing. You say there's been people come through on the other side who were serial killers and stuff like that, right? A lot of time people think it's like real sexy to be able to touch the other side, and I got in trouble as a teenager because I wanted to get in contact with anything that was out there. Show up, give me a manifestation. I did all these different chants and meditations and combining all this stuff, and whatever got me a result. We did Wicca, satanic stuff, all types of angel readings and hexes and all types of stuff that I did as a teenager, and I ended up getting possessed. Like it opened up a portal and that stuff came through, and I'm seeing stuff in the middle of freaking Winn-Dixie. You know what I'm saying? And everybody in the whole place staring at me at one time. I was going through paranoia and schizophrenia, opening up those portals and couldn't control it. It was like a knob that was turned on, and it messed me up. I had to go back to the church. Like it was just scary stuff, man. And so with all that stuff coming through, stuff wants to come through. We would have a great. I'm going back to the last podcast because I had another psychic medium, but she talked about like spirit realm almost being like the mall. Like you go to the mall and you want to go to this store, whether that store there's a person who works there, maybe that's the deceased loved one or whatever. But if you're going through that mall, there's these little kiosks that are there, and people are reaching out to you. Hey, come try this lotion. Let me give you a massage. And there's all these different people reaching out to you, and almost the spirit realms like that too. You're talking about this serial killer, and people think it's sexy just to make contact, maybe even early. They don't know. Like, they just want to know that it's real. Not everybody's good. What if the spirit that comes through was a pedophile, child molester, rapist, and you're making contact, and now you're having these crazy dreams. You feel like someone's messing with you in the middle of the night. These weird things like that. How would you protect yourself from any demonic entity or negative person who's still, just because they're dead don't mean they're good people. I mean, we look at even alive on the earth right now. There's a lot of old people. We're like, oh, look, he's so old. That guy could have been like a bad dude when he was young. Just because he's old, don't mean he's a good person. Like, he's been through some stuff, and you just see him as a fragile old man or old woman. You don't know how bitter or whatever what they bring to the table. Same thing for the spirit realm. What would you say to that?
So I'm a huge believer, follower, caller of Archangel Michael, and I just feel like as long as I have his protection, I'm not going to be submitted to anything evil. I think you also have to really believe in negativity and evil. And for me, I'm kind of a no nonsense person. I won't even give evil or negativity a place within myself. Like, I won't even I'm completely blocked off. I surround myself in white light. So it's more of a vision, a meditation that I do before I do any reading. The times that you have to watch are when you get in an altered state and you haven't said your prayers. You didn't go through and do your boom, boom, boom. Okay, I've said my prayers. I've called in these archangels. I've surrounded myself in white light. I've smudged, I've used sage. I'm good to go. I'm nice and clear. It's when you're driving, down the road and you get in that altered state, which is where you have to be in to connect with loved ones on the other side, or spirit in general, that you have to kind of worry about getting in touch with a negative entity. But I think that if you take proper precautions and you pray and you do the things that you need to do before you enter the spirit realm, you don't have to worry about that. So when you were younger and you were doing these, whatever you could do to get some sort of reaction and you became possessed, did you say a prayer to Archangel Michael or to God? Did you hold protective crystals? There's a number of things that you can do.
I was reckless. I was real reckless. Even I was a lost teenager, right? I was robbing people and like all types of in gang involvement, and then I would do occult stuff. And then I feel like whatever level you're vibrating at, those are the entities you're going to deal with on the other side.
That's true.
And so if you're just doing good alms and you're helping people, you give somebody the shirt off your back, you're doing good deeds, and you tap in, I think there's some beautiful beings ready to greet you. And those, that's a message for somebody. I'm getting chills when I said that. So that's it, man. So I was a negative person. I crossed over and I got to see the stuff I was entertaining, and it had its way with me. So
I'll be the first to tell you I'm human, and so and a woman, so I have moments of anger and stress and anxiety and frustration. I think a lot of people look at spiritualists or psychic mediums or whatever on this beautiful, graceful type thing, that's how we are, and that's not the case. Like, we experience life just like everybody else. We get down, we get depressed, we get stressed, we get angry. I mean, all of those things. We throw temper tantrums. We're like that, and if I'm in that state, I will cancel my appointments.
Yep.
I will usually not do them unless I think that I can pull myself out of this state that I'm in and go on. But yeah, you have to be very aware of your energy and your surroundings when you're doing this. And I think awareness is key to making sure that you're not.
I shut down all the way. I shut down all the way when I am going through it, and I'm not going to be able to receive. I already know it. And it's just me. That's just my integrity or whatever. That's how I approach it. I feel like if I'm doing good, it's gonna be easy. It's gonna be easy to tap in, but I don't. Obviously, I can do and that's if I'm not doing spiritual practice. If I'm doing spiritual practice, I'm gonna be there. But if I'm doing other things, that I know I shouldn't be doing, which just hasn't happened in a year. If I'm depressed or been freaking out about a job or having crazy thoughts or whatever, then it just like throws you out of whack, and you need to do the spiritual practice to get back right, almost, to kind of find your center if you become unbalanced with all that stuff. Allie Graham is asking another question. She wants to know, since you came from the church, you said you come from a Lutheran background, right?
Yep.
And so how like I was into the prophetic realm, and so the church kind of catered to, we could say, psychic abilities. They wouldn't call it that, but they did. And there was an option. You call yourself, you can be a prophet or a prophetess or whatever. She said, since you came from the church realm, did you contemplate being a prophet or whatever before you thought about becoming psychic or medium? Was that even an option, or did you know that there was even a thing?
Yeah, it wasn't until later that I even discovered that you could go to the church and say, I'm a prophet, and then I do this and I do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually not something that I'm still against. I mean, I would totally consider it. You almost think, though, at this point, is it too late to do that, since I already have this
Yeah.
following and this
Yeah.
and that? But, if something ever came to me prophecy wise that I truly felt like I needed to take to the church, to my church, I would do it in a heartbeat. But, I never considered it because I wasn't aware that it was a possibility at that point.
Yeah. That's a big thing. But so like, and it's not as easy as going to your pastor and say, hey, I'm a prophet, let's build on
Right.
this. Like, if you're a prophet, you're saying you're hearing from God. And so if the pastor's not hearing from God, then you become a threat. Like, people want to come, and that's what messed me up in the church. Cause like, I thought that the closer to God that you got, fasting, praying, angelic visitations, being able to heal people, all of this stuff, what I think it should be like the average life of a believer. Like, the Bible says that like these signs shall follow them that believe, and you're going to do all of this stuff. And so if you're doing that in the church, the attention comes off of the man that's on the stage, on the pulpit, and the attention becomes, hey, I like this guy. Now, this guy
Right.
walks in power. This guy can prophesy. This guy can do this and do that, or whatever the case is. So you have a target on your back if you're in the church doing it. And I think there's a lot of people listening to this podcast who they've been through that. I remember having a dream. I had dreams, plural, about the church I was in, and how there was going to be attacks against it, and even detailed prophetic dreams about it. And I went to an elder friend of mine, and first I went to the youth pastor with one, and they prayed against it, thinking it was demonic and satanic, that the devil's speaking to me, right? And then the other time I went to one of my elders, and he's like, yeah, you might not want to share that with the pastor, because he may think that, because in the dream, like, I had the answer about what to do to make sure that this doesn't happen. And it's not nothing about me. It's like, hey, let me share this with the pastor. This is
Right.
coming, and we can avoid it. That's why prophetic dreams happen, and people, you're able to feel what's coming before it happens in the spirit, and not to just say, I told you so, but to be able to prevent it, to be able to, there's intercessory prayer. There's things that you can do. Repentance. If you have this stuff, hey, and the pastor's like, man, this guy knows what I'm doing in the secret. My member knows that I'm in an adulterous relationship, and he's having dreams about it. It's not going to be accepted. They're going to
Right.
get you out of there really quick.
Right. Like I said before, I never even knew that was an option. And what little I did know at the time that I came out as a clairvoyant was that this was not accepted in any way, shape, or form. So the last thing that I was going to do was go to my church and say, hey, this is what I do. How can I help? But yeah, looking back and after reading and watching and hearing about different things, like the book of Joan of Arc, knowing that she, tried to use what she was hearing to help the church, to help win her war, and said that the voices were coming from God. I don't know exactly what source I'm hearing my voices from, unless I'm in the middle of doing a reading and I know that I'm connecting with somebody on the other side. So to say that, God himself gives me these visions or whatever, I don't think that would be completely accurate. It's not that I don't feel like I'm doing his work, because I do. It's just, I don't know that I could say, I'm hearing directly from God.
Okay. Yeah. And I think you may be right. But it's even that is with the dogma and the cognitive dissonance of people say, hold on, wait, I only hear God. I don't listen to anything else. I only listen to the Holy Spirit. And the weird thing is, we've addressed this, it's like sometimes you can't even tell. Like for me, a lot of this stuff sounds the same, even for the people who hear God, even for the people who hear their guardian angel or hear the spirit of old man Jones who lived down the road, whatever it is. Like for me, the way we interpret those messages, it usually sounds like us. It sounds like us. So for somebody, that doesn't sound different. I think you have to test the fruit of the message and what they're saying really to figure out who or what it is. So the Holy Spirit doesn't sound different than God. God doesn't sound different than Jesus. Jesus doesn't sound different than the angels. Jesus doesn't sound different than the demons or the disembodied spirits. The way we receive that message internally is all the same. But it's beautiful though, because the scripture said that Jesus said, "My sheep hear my voice, and a stranger's voice they will not follow." So there's other voices trying to lead us and pull us when we tap into the spirit realm. When we walk into that mall, we have our eyes on, this is what I'm doing. You have to be intentional. And I believe you can explore the spirit realm and things like that, but even still, say your prayers, do your ritual to know that no harm shall come nigh thy dwelling. Whatever it is, that I'm protected as I go in. Whatever you have to do, that's different from everybody. To some, it's sitting in the middle of a pentagram, which is a symbol of protection, wearing your special pentagram ring, burning sage, praying, using anointing oil, fasting. I do a little bit of all of it. I think it's all beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. My go-to is the prayer to Archangel Michael, Raziel, Uriel, and Gabriel. Mm-hmm. I surround myself in white light. I do a quick meditation, and I always smudge before and after, to get rid of any negativity before I go into it and whatever I might bring home from it. But that's how I keep the negativity away, I think. I mean, I haven't had to worry about it yet, so I think I'm doing something right.
Mm-hmm. Wanted to ask you this too, just to kind of get a picture of what it would look like when you would go in or do a session or whatever, right? It looks different for different people. And like I said, there's a lot of people who want to know, how do I tap in? I know I'm called to this. I'm really intrigued. I don't know where to start. What does it look like when you go in? So you're talking about channeling. Do you zone out and then speak out the message? Like they give it to you and then it comes through, like you speak it out? Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, so there are 5 psychic senses, medium senses. Clairaudience is the ability to hear spirit. Clairvoyance is the ability to see spirit and to see signs, like if they drop you signs and things like that. Those are the 2 main things that I use, hearing and seeing, and mainly hearing. But how it starts for me is, the people will come in, they'll sit down. I'll give them a rundown of kind of how this works, what to expect, and then I'll say a quick prayer in my mind to my head, through my head, and then I'll start to channel spirit. So it takes me, maybe 5 minutes to get into an altered state, and I'm usually doing that, and my clients don't even know. They don't even realize that I'm trying to get to an altered state. Yeah. But in the beginning, you would really, for me, there was way more time between, talking to the client and getting into that altered state that I would spend. Now it's kind of like a muscle. Like I just use it. It's that quick and I start. But in the beginning, no, it was a lot of effort.
It's funny you say that because I'm kind of there now and it's still kind of in the beginning of like, but it helps for me though, because I get to learn. Like I think that for me, the talking or the consultation helps me get a game plan. Okay, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna be looking for this. Then as I go into trance state and the messages come forth, it's like it helps me kind of like fine tune what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? The more you do something, the better you get at it, whether it's going into meditation, doing breath work. Sometimes it may take people 15, 20 minutes. You can get as good as one breath. Breathe, close your eyes. I'm there. Okay, this is what's coming.
Right.
And you can get good at all of it. The breath work, the fasting, the prayers, the knowing, the seeing. You know what I'm saying? The more you do it, it's like a muscle. Using the third eye, even. You get better and better and better at it the more you use it. So. Was there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to cover? Any cool anything music
Well,
wise? I
I
know
got
you're
to
into
talk about the
music,
Energy
rock and
Enlightenment
stuff.
Tour.
So
That was something big that I
yeah,
wanted to talk about, and you can find information on that on my Facebook and
is
my
Chantel
website.
going to be on that with you?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yes.
great.
Yeah, Chantel will be on that with me. And I have a blog called mymomthemedium.com. On that blog, you can read some really interesting stories that I've accrued over the last few years. Earlier we were talking about when you say something to someone about spirit that you're hearing, and they say, "No, we don't know. We don't. That doesn't make any sense." About maybe a year ago, it might even be less than that. I was in a little bitty town, and I was doing a big audience reading. There was probably 30, 40 people in there. And I began to speak to a woman whose boyfriend was now on the other side. They shared a child. She had just had that child recently, and so he was a little bitty guy. And the young man that was on the other side, who was the father of the child, wanted to reference that child. And he began to describe, different things about the child. And then all of a sudden, he showed me the number 28. And I brought up that number several times to this young mother about her child, and she said that makes no sense. There's 20, the 28th, nothing happened on the 28th. And I said, I'm going to ask you to keep that, and you let me know if you figure out where the 28th fits, or the number 28.
Mm-hmm.
And later that evening, they went home to pick up their son, or she went home to pick up her son, and he had a baseball shirt on that said 28. And so that was just this beautiful moment where she realized, oh my God, my son's father really truly is around still. And that's where they found out where 28 fit. And so that's always one of my favorite stories to give, because people don't realize that while you're sitting in front of a psychic medium and they're calling these things out at you, you get what I like to call psychic amnesia. And it's where you just completely blank out. And that's okay. My biggest piece of advice, if you're going to get a reading from a psychic or a medium, is to bring a pen and a paper and write down everything that they say. That way you're able to go back through it and figure out what they said and where it fits.
Awesome. We got another question coming through. Let's see.
What is your go-to tarot deck? Favorite card?
What is your go-to tarot deck and your favorite card? This is from Brother Andrew Wadowiski. You gotta tell me how you pronounce your last name.
I like it. So I actually have it right here with me. This is my favorite deck. It's called the Angel Tarot deck. And I, as far as my favorite card, I don't necessarily have a favorite card. But my favorite deck is this Angel Tarot deck, and I use it constantly. And I just pulled out a card for everybody here, and it's the Lovers. So what it says is, intimate relationships, carefully weigh your desires, good health. So I would say, if there's anybody out there that's thinking, how could this affect me, or what does it have to do with me? It's either going to be one of two things. The Lovers is a sign of things going well. Things are going to blossom for you. Carefully weigh your decisions. So if you're trying to decide something right now and you're thinking about picking right away, give it a day or two. If you're on this podcast and you're listening to it and you're trying to make a decision, give it another day. Also keep in mind that it's got the number 6 on it right here. Anytime I see that, that's a big indicator that you may have something coming up with that decision around the 6th, or within 6 days or 6 weeks. So, if anybody listening has something going on and they can relate to that card, there you go.
Awesome. So you do group readings too for groups and stuff, right?
Yeah, that's my absolute favorite thing to do. I call them mediumship demonstrations, and it's usually 30, 40, 50, 60 people, sometimes more. And I just go in and I randomly bring up whoever comes up. And that's how it works.
Do you go live on Facebook
too,
doing readings and stuff, trying to attract clients and things like that? Do you do that? There's a lot of people doing that right now. Well, it's a perfect tool.
What?
Do you go live on Facebook and do live readings
Oh,
on
yeah.
Facebook? Yeah.
I don't typically do live readings on Facebook. I think I've done maybe 2 ever. But you know, and I usually do that as kind of a treat to my fans and clients and friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that I do all the time to attract clientele. I am very blessed to be very steady in work. So I don't really have to do a whole lot to attract them, but I love to interact with them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Well, good stuff. If somebody wants to check out more of your work, or they want to book a private session from you or anything like that, where can they go?
www.themissourimedium.com.
TheMissouriMedium.com. Make sure you guys go check out her work. Check out some of the stuff that she has on her website. Some really cool stuff there. And
I'm also on Facebook under Britney Buckwalter, so you can send me a message there too.
Sounds good. Thank you, Britney, for coming on, hanging out with me for my birthday. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. You have a good one.
All right, you too. Thank you so much.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Britney Buckwalter, ladies and gentlemen. Beautiful soul. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Shout out to the chat. We're talking about whether you're going live on Facebook and spending time with your audience and giving them a treat. I like I like going live on YouTube, or I guess anywhere, but I do this on YouTube for the most part. And then I see everybody joining. Everybody in the chat shouts out, and you're seeing that number climbing, and everybody hanging out with us here. I love that. I love going live and then seeing that number jump up and hanging out with my people, the regulars, the new people. It just, that's my tribe and my crew, man. So just to see that we've built something consistent here, something beautiful, it's awesome. And even with that, there's going to be a lot of new people. Some come, some go. Some have a change of heart, and I get those messages. I was a New Ager, now I'm a Christian, and now I can't listen to you. I said, well, won't you listen to some of the Christian episodes I've done? I've had my old pastor on here. I have worship leaders and, prophets and stuff like that. I do straight Christian episodes. I don't even mention anything like that, and they're good. They're good episodes, really. I try to find common ground with the people. But dogma is something, buddy. It'll get you every time, right? Sometimes that comes into play. But there's, so many new people joining. And then I just had Jordan Maxwell on, and those interviews skyrocket. Like he's got a huge following. And I even like, and I'm honest, like I like doing those Jordan Maxwell interviews to, cross-pollinate, to, tap into his audience or whatever. And I do that. Then I have a chance to have new people join the fold and hang out with us, and people who are looking. And I don't want to convince anyone. I don't want to have to trick anyone like I used to have to do in Christianity. I'd have to beg you to stay or whatever the case is. If you find community amongst me and my people here, then you're going to stay. It's organic. I don't have to trick you or convince you. If it's time for you to go, God bless you. It's time to move on. Nothing lasts forever, man. So while we are here, we have, we're like-minded people. We have questions. Nobody's perfect, those type of things. So it's a beautiful space that we've created. And just as I've created something like this, you can create the same, or you can cross-pollinate and do the same thing. So it's really beautiful where we are spiritually, and even using technology for our advantages. But even with that, you get trolls in here. You get people who, and that I had to ban. I don't know where my moderators are today. There's have a couple people reaching out wanting to be moderators, but I can make guys. I'm gonna go ahead and make a moderator right here. I'm gonna make Chris Garner a moderator if I haven't yet. Boom, just like that. We got Garner, and then we got Santiago. These are my people. These aren't randoms. These are normies. These aren't random people. So you guys are moderators. Anybody acting up, tell them where to go to the next video, whatever it is. But you're gonna get people like that. I've had a couple people in the chat today just kind of, and it's not about having a difference of opinion. You can have your opinion or whatever, whether you can stick around and have your own beliefs or whatever, but it's when you try to belittle someone or throw stones at people, whatever. Look, Magic right here. Let's see, Magic. Danny's a Danny's a moderator. Bing. What? Look out for the trolls. Chris Garner, look. I got a lot more grace than some of the chat. The chat, they'll cut your head off. Me, I'm going to try to work with you. You offend the chat. It's OWHH. And if you know what that means, drop that in the chat. Chat don't play. Chat don't play. I play. Chat don't play. But yeah, those new people come. You know, the Jordan Maxwell interview brought a lot of new people in. We got a lot of people watching right now. And a lot of weird stuff in the chat going on too. So anyway, it comes with the territory, all of it, the growth. So it's just not about numbers, but it's about finding the people who are supposed to be there. The people who have something that they can contribute. Josh Fluman, moderator. Moderator. Like that. Regulators. Good stuff. These people have age on them. They've been here for a while. They're here every podcast, man. They're my people. That's who they are. And it's a bunch of y'all. Let's see y'all. I'll make y'all moderators too. Irk says, over with the heavy hand. OWHH. Over with the heavy hand. Off with his head. Off with his head. The chat will get you every time. Don't make the chat mad. Speaking about going into the spirit realm, right? And protecting yourself. Chris Garner brought up a pretty interesting concept. He said that your attitude is your protection. And then he even says now with this comment, everyone deserves a say, just stay positive. He said your attitude is everything when you're going into the other side, when you're tapping in. Your attitude, yeah. Attitude of gratitude, right? And your attitude determines your altitude, how far you're going to go, how high you're going to go, all about your attitude. I mean, many people are in the same situation as you, but they're being elevated. They have a better attitude. You stay humble. You don't complain. You know what I'm saying? And you just roll with the punches. Your attitude determines your altitude. How long are you willing to stay where you are at that level? You might be at a good level. You might be comfortable. But there may be some other things that you want out of life. There may be something you want out of this experience. And your attitude comes into play. It really does. Learning everything that you need to learn at this level so you ain't got to journey back because you've learned what you needed to learn there. Then you can ascend and go to the next level. And you may be like, man, I've been here. I've learned everything. What else I got to learn? I learned everything. I can't even think of nothing. Patience. It's a virtue. You know? And but just looking for the opportunity, learn. I mean, that's number one. The scripture says, talks about how, you know, man can build things and toil and stuff like that, but it's God. You can plant, you can water, but God gives the increase. The Creator gives the increase to whatever it is you're building. Again, make sure you're working with the Creator and not working against Him. You know, whether you have to abandon your faith or abandon this or doing things that you know you shouldn't be doing, abandon that. And it changes everything. Start working with God versus working against God. And you see that God is not this uptight, you know, ruling heavy hand like the chat. God has grace that abounds, man. And it's the grace and ability to change your life, to it's unmerited favor from the Creator to His creation, simply because, not because you deserve it, but because He loves you. His thoughts are continually for you. Plans to bless you, plans to prosper you. Those are universal laws for me now. There's no wavering that. That's my mindset. So working with God. Now, you have to search your own heart. You have to wash your own hands. And you make sure that your desires are pure. Your desires are pure. And your pursuit is pure. Now, when we come to God, the Bible says that God, if you delight yourself in the Lord, God will give you the desires of your heart. Well, as you're delighting in the Lord, your desires change. I used to desire wickedness. I used to desire all types of foolishness. I don't desire that no more. I used to desire, I thought that there was different levels of success and what proved that you were successful or proved that you were godly or whatever. So as your mind is renewed by the washing of the word, your desires change. I don't desire what I used to. I don't desire that stuff anymore. God has done such a work in my heart and on my mind so that my desires change. So then you see that when you get with God, when you get in the Spirit, you delight yourself in the Lord, He gives you the desires of your heart. It's because your desires changed. You're not desiring to harm people. You're not desiring to repay evil with evil. You're not desiring to harm to come upon somebody. You start loving your enemies. You start blessing them that curse you. You line up with God. God sees your alms before Him and says, okay, this is one I can trust. He ain't gossiping behind people's back. He's got love for everybody. Doing what he knows to do is right. Doing what she knows to do is right. God sees that. Your parents might not see it. Your spouse might not see it. Your boss might not even see it. Your boss might not even see it. Where you are. I do such a good job. Why is everybody else getting raises but me? Like, what's the deal? I'm doing it the best I can. I'm outperforming everyone. I'm excellent in my work. God sees it. God sees it, don't He, Chris Garner? Seemed like you was in the same spot. All of a sudden, a blessing out of nowhere fell in your lap. What? Fell in my lap. I start desiring blessings. I start looking for blessings for me and for other people as well. So God delights in blessing His children. How is He going to bless somebody else? He blesses us so that we can help people. And you have to be a good steward with that, whether it's financial, whether it's children, you know what I'm saying? Whatever you have, He's given you, be a good steward with that. Be a good steward. That's what it's about. Jump to this chat. Flying Penguin says, as new creations in Christ, we are transformed and already have the mind of Christ. We must focus on who we already are. Yeah, we've been sold a false identity. We're in an identity crisis. Some of us are like a chameleon. Everything we look at, we receive that identity. Every person we get around, we start talking like them, acting like them. It's an identity crisis, but you have to know who you are, created in Christ Jesus to do good works. You already have the mind of Christ. You have to renew your mind daily, and even that becomes with practice. And what is walking in the Spirit? There takes some. There's instant success. There's instant change, but some of it you have to walk out. Some of it you have to walk out. Most of it you have to walk out, right? So, we're playing with magic. It's the Holy Spirit, white magic, change of heart. And it's a daily practice. It's a daily walk. I wish that it was just a one-time deal. I had to come to that notion, even like coaching people and doing private sessions and stuff. And I think I talked about this even the other day, but I've been in this place where I just do one session with somebody. And I was like, we're going to knock it all out in this one session. And then, because I come from the Christian faith healer circles, well, just let me put my hands on you. I'm going to cast that demon out you. I still do that, right? We're still there. But some of that stuff, it don't work like that. It don't work like that. You cast a demon out, but you don't train that person on discipleship, how to walk, how to move forward with it. And then you actually doing that person a disservice. I've questioned my evangelist friends on this. How can you go in there, cast out demons and win people to the Lord and then just leave them without any type of accountability or discipleship or a program or something like that? Because you cast that demon of addiction out of somebody. The Bible says that those spirits go out to dry places and they find 7 other spirits stronger than they are. And they come back to the home and say, look, they kicked me out. We're going to go back. I need y'all's help. He gets these other spirits and he goes back to the house or the body, the temple. They go back And if they find the house swept clean and it's a whole nother house and they've cleaned things up, they can't go back to their abode. They had legal right to be there, and then you, the prophet, the preacher, the healer, kick them out. They come back trying to find that legal ground because they do have a right to be there. They had a lease. They had an agreement why they can be there. And if that agreement is not broken, if that house is not swept clean and changed, then it says that he comes back with 7 spirits stronger than himself, and that the latter state of that person is worse than before. You got to walk this stuff out. You got to walk this stuff out. That's what it's about. We're dealing with real life people, issues. Just because we're healers and light workers and we've retrained our mind to see the beauty and the blueprint and all that kind of stuff, there's still wicked stuff out there, man. There's still wicked people out there. You have to, even though you can't even see it no more, you've trained yourself just to see the good in everything. And I think I've been there at times, and I think it's good versus the other extreme, seeing the evil in everything. Everybody's hidden agendas, hidden motives, all this kind of stuff. But it really takes a balance. Be careful. Not everybody appreciates you. Not everybody is in your corner. Not everybody who's riding in your boat or paddling, you're carrying dead weight. You're carrying people who's secretly drilling holes in your boat, trying to flip it. They rocking it, trying to flip it, because you won't kick them out. You gotta get rid of some of them people, man. 2019. You better do it. Shout out to everybody hanging out. I see y'all in chat. Christy Folks, Allie Graham, Chris Garner, Joshua Fluman, The Flying Penguin, Jose Adam, Allie Graham, I think I said your name already. All these people. All of you. Love y'all. Tonight, again, it's my birthday, and we're going to do a special live stream. And, yeah, if you guys want to hang out with me tonight, it's going to be fun. Going to be silly. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm excited. So, with that being said, I'll say peace and shalom. I love you guys, and we'll do it again soon. Love y'all. I got to do a podcast right after here. After this, I got to go directly into another. Somebody wants to interview me, so I'll share that out when I'm done with it. So, with that, I'll say peace and shalom. Love y'all.
Your way so much higher than mine. So much higher than mine.
What else?
So much deeper than mine. So much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.